Mr. Derek Veenhoff, who's better known as Deek.
Drinking liquor with DJ Deek, we out laughing.
Yo, Deek.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we're here with Dice Raw from the legendary Roots crew, cooking dinner. COVID style.
Yes, I am.
Welcome.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
No problem. It's an honor to have you here, and big fan, of course. Who isn't a fan of the Roots or the Dice Raw versus or hooks? Can you? Why don't you give us a little bit of your background? Like, where does Dice Raw come from? We know North Philly, to be exact.
Yeah, to even be more exact, I'm from a neighborhood called Logan, and Logan is like just north of North Philly.
So north.
Yeah, I'm from a block that they call 11th Street. It was very notorious for like drug trafficking in the 80s and shoplifting. Like a lot of shoplifters, a lot of the drug dealers of the 80s would come to Logan and basically do shopping. You know what I mean?
You tuck the pants into the socks and what?
Yeah, these guys were stealing like racks of diamonds. That was like the big thing when I was a kid, a rack of diamonds. You know what I mean? If you could steal a rack of diamonds, then you were the man. And somebody would buy it on the corner. Pelly jackets were big. They used to cost, I don't know, maybe like $500, $1,000 back in the 80s. And, the boosters would steal the jackets and sell them half price. And, people would wear them. And so that was, but basically they would snatch a lot of chains, earrings, glasses. I mean, it's just, a crazy place that was definitely affected by the economic disparity of the 80s. You know what I'm saying? Reaganomics, really fueled criminal creativity. I have to say.
Now, at this point, what has that area seen better days since then? The 80s was the 80s.
No, it's still a little rough. It's not being gentrified. But all of Philadelphia is looking like there's a big plan for Philadelphia, and the neighborhood was actually built on swampland. A lot of people don't know that. But part of North Philly was built on swampland, and some of the houses were sinking, so they were deemed unlivable. You know what I mean?
So how did you get into music originally? Is there music in your family?
Yeah. My dad is a drummer. He was in a band. He had a record deal back when he was 15 years old. But he didn't like the people that he was working with. So he opted out of his deal. They bought him out of his contract. And, he was just, a regular guy after that.
What kind of band was it? Like a Philly soul band or what?
Huh?
What kind of band was it? Like a
funk, like a funk,
soul.
Soul, whatever they were playing back in those days. Probably more like James Brown type of thing, maybe some doo-wop. I'm not really sure.
Right. Yeah. And then how did you end up with the Roots? Mutual friends or something like that, was it?
Yeah. Well, I won a talent show and I was working with a producer named Kilo, and Kilo introduced me to the Roots.
And what was that like at that time? What year would that have been? Like, what were the Roots?
That was 1993 when I met the Roots, and they had just got a record deal. I had already been working in the music industry though as a kid. I lived in LA when I was 14, and I was a ghostwriter for a group called Playtime that was signed to Bell Biv DeVoe. They had a deal on Mercury Records. So before I met the Roots, I was already kind of in the music industry, somewhat. But I was already a fan of the Roots though. I was a huge fan because they had an independent album. And my favorite song on there was Leonard's Parts 1 to 5. And Tariq was just going in on that joint. I was like, man, the Roots is fucking all that. And then I got a chance to meet them. And I was just like, I was like, oh, wow. And then right when I met them the Roots got $1 million record deal in the 90s. So that was crazy. It was unheard of. And so they were kind of street famous in Philadelphia. And so when I got a chance to meet the Roots, I already kind of knew a little bit about them. You know what I mean? So
right. So I always wonder, the bigger the band, the bigger record deal you need, don't you? Because there's so many guys you got to pay, right?
Yeah, it wasn't a lot of money earlier on. But $1 million didn't really go as far as you may think it goes, especially when recording an album.
Right.
Studio costs $1,000 a day, and this was back in the day where they was charging us basically $200 for a CD to be burned. So at the end of the session, if you wanted a CD burned, they would charge you $200 for it. So it was a wild, they were getting away with murder.
Right. So how have you seen, what is your perspective on the industry compared to from then to now, as far as independent artists and all that? Like, a lot of people were getting screwed back then in deals and stuff like that. But I mean, that still goes on, I guess, when people get signed, right? Unless they're doing it.
I mean, I'm sure some people are still out there getting, gaffled or whatever. I'm going to try to put this down a little bit. I'm sure a lot of people out there are getting gaffled and getting robbed, but I think that there's a lot more money in the music industry as far as the independent streaming and sales. I mean, you got to do some serious streaming, but a lot of the power has remained in the artist's hands as of lately. And I think that that's something interesting. And I think that's really good. And, it takes a lot of power out of the major record companies' hands, which is always positive because, I mean, a lot of the majors, they don't really know what they're doing anyway. They're just a bunch of, people just pushing paper. They're not creative. They don't even understand how to write a song or even how to access the emotion that goes into music. I mean, they really have not a full understanding of it. At least most of the record executives that I've encountered in my time, they really didn't have too much real perspective on what the real deal of the music industry is. And I mean, they may say the same thing about me because I've always been an underground artist and I've done something that I've always done stuff that I thought was more meaningful than what the typical music industry stigma was. You know what I mean? And always kind of prided myself on that as well.
Now you also just released a stand-up comedy album called Canceled. That's on Spotify. So how
did you get a chance to hear it? Did you check it out?
I did listen to it. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Thank you.
How did you flirt with comedy in your life, or did anybody push you towards that? How did you come about to that?
Yeah, well, I was in a group called Nouveau Riche, and when I used to perform with Nouveau Riche, I realized that I used to do a lot of commentary during our concerts, and Nikki Jean and Kari would always be like, "Dice, get back to doing the actual show, what we're here to do," type of thing.
Right.
And one day I was having lunch with an old guy who used to work at the theater. He recently passed away, which was crazy. But we were having lunch and he told me, he said, "Listen, man, you missed your calling." He said, "You should have been in comedy." And I was like, "Wait, I missed my calling? I should be in comedy, not hip hop?" And I mean, he's 75 years old. So I was just thinking, like, what does he know? Right. But when I really dug into it, I had a lot of fun doing it. And the feedback has been tremendous. And a lot of people are just like, "Yo, how long have you been working on this? You're like a natural." And even people who are in comedy, like that I really respect, had hit me up and, had expressed that they thought that was really good. And, and that, they were like, how long have you been working on your voice? And, because a comedian voice, it takes years to develop. And I'm just like, well, I've been basically a schizophrenic most of my life. So I got different voices in my head that work well. They work well together.
True. Now, how do you think about rap and comedy? Because isn't there a lot of crossover there as far as punchlines and metaphors, and it's all kind of, it's writing, right? It's presenting. There's a lot of similarities, no?
Yeah, I would say there's a lot of similarities, and I think hip hop has definitely helped the and plus just performing. And I think a lot of times in rap we say things that are funny, especially when you're writing a rhyme and you're writing a rap song, you're by yourself, you typically start to think about the actual song. And most rappers are funny. Like Green Jay is, Jean Grey is really funny. Black Thought is hilarious. I thought Dress from Black Sheep was funny. Eminem is funny. Redman's funny. So, I mean, I think that there's a natural progression in hip hop and comedy. And I definitely was, I'm glad the comedy album was well received. You know what I'm saying? So it's definitely, definitely cool shit.
So how has you've done a lot more singing and hooks on the more recent Roots albums? Have you always switched between singing and rapping, or what? How do you describe that?
I think that I've always been musical. And I've always used to sing like little melodies and things like that. But you know, before people just weren't that interested in it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And as I think this rap kind of like progressed and, you know, we got more into the more experimental phases of rap and, you know, even inspiring people like Kid Cudi or whoever would come up to me and say, yeah, I was inspired by hearing you sing and rap. And then those things take on a life that is even bigger than that you ever could imagine. And you think about somebody like Drake and how he raps and he sings, you know, I think it was really that's the kind of natural progression. I mean, even think about Method Man. He kind of rapped and sang a little bit. You know, Nelly was kind of like a rap singer kind of thing. Yes. So, I mean, it's been around for a while. Even the Jungle Brothers, you know, they used to have a lot of melodies and the stuff that they did too, you know?
Yeah, I would say there's probably a lot of rappers that didn't use melodies in it to their detriment. Like they might not have had longevity or a lot of great albums or a lot of great singles because they don't utilize melodies in the proper way.
I agree.
I have a lot of questions for you, man. What was the biggest song for you or for the band whenever you were part of the band? Like I know Here I Come From, they used that in the Superbad movie, and that was like a big scene, and that was a huge movie, right? Like what was that song like when it came out? Was it a big deal?
Yeah, I mean, you know, when the song came out, you know, the Roots are never really trying to push for anything super commercial. Yeah. But if something happens on its own and people just dig it, then that's cool. So I mean, when Here I Come, it definitely was a successful song as far as licensing. You know, like you mentioned, it was in Superbad, but it also was in Will Smith's movie, not I Am Legend, but the superhero one when he was the drunk superhero, Hancock.
Oh, yeah.
You know, but the Roots get a lot of songs that are in movies that people don't even realize, in commercials and all kind of different things that the Roots are involved in that you would never have any idea that it was even their song. But so they get a lot of licensing and sync stuff, which is really cool. But yeah, Here I Come was really cool. The Fire, I would say The Fire is probably one of the more successful songs that I was involved in as well. It's the song with the Roots and John Legend, but you know, I was involved in some of the writing aspects. So
yeah, that was a banger.
Yeah, The Fire is a good one. You know what I mean?
So what is a Roots session like? Like you're a writer and producer and rapper, but like there's so many people in the band. A lot of people mostly see Questlove or Thought, and I always picture Questlove just doing everything because he's kind of more of the face of things. But you know, how many hands are involved in the different processes? And do you personally ever take on part of the mixing or that kind of thing? You know, or is that certain things left to other you know, hirees or professionals, and you guys just write? You know, how does it work?
I mean, you know, I really can't elaborate on that because it's such a special recipe. And, you know, I don't want, you know, we got a lot of competition out there. I don't want, you know, everybody trying to cook chicken like the Roots do. You know what I mean? But it's, you know, Questlove is definitely a phenomenal producer. And, you know, Black Thought goes without saying, he's a phenomenal songwriter. And, you know, but, you know, there's always been, you know, like group sessions where, you know, we would just come in and have fun and, you know, not even really be focused on writing really to a certain degree, but really just kind of just in there just vibing out. So there's a lot of vibe, you know, that goes into that. And so
a lot of the songs might come from just a jam session or something, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we used to do a lot of jam sessions and, you know, Quest will be on the drums and somebody may be in the room humming a melody and then they come up with a song like that. And, you know, for the most part, yeah, I mean, the most part, you know, Richard Nichols was a huge part of the creative process for the Roots. So, you know, there was a few different people who were involved, you know.
What was it like working with Schooly D on that remix of 100? I know there's so many Philly rappers out there. Like, how did you connect with Schooly D and get him on a track? I think at the time you did that track, he was doing his own album as well, right?
Yeah, and Schooly was also, he wrote the theme song for Aqua Teen
Hunger Force, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, Schooly was always in the studio doing stuff for Cartoon Network or whatever. But that night was really funny. And I hope Schooly doesn't get mad, but I tell this story a lot. And the thing that was the funniest thing, he came in the studio, and this is an old school rapper, And I guess I'm an old school rapper too. I shouldn't talk so much shit about old rappers because that's me. I'm sitting here wearing a turtleneck. You know what I'm saying? Like that's an old rapper. That's old rapper clothing. But Schooly came in the studio. He had about 30 people with him, right? He had his lawyer with him. He had women with him. He had friends with him. He had all these people, right? So when it's time for him to record, he tells his entourage, wait outside. He says, wait out here. I'm going to go in the studio with Dice. That whole entourage is out there. Kevin Glickman, Schooly D. Shout out Kev Glickman. This is a good friend of mine. So Schooly goes in the room. He kicks me out, too. He says, Dice, I don't need you in here. I need to do my own thing with the engineer. So he's in there for about an hour. I'm in the lobby talking to Kev Glickman. Kevin's asking me where's the weed is. Every 5 minutes, he asks me about weed. Yeah, Schooly is in the booth. My engineer comes out at the time. His name was Fabian. And Fabian comes out. He says, hey, man, Schooly's in there bugging. And I said, what do you mean? He said he's not comfortable. He said, you know, he wants to go to his own studio. You know, he wants to use his own mic. He said, I'm not drinking that. Is that the Mondavi? Oh, yeah, I'm drinking that. Okay. Sorry. So Schooly, he's like, I go in the room. He's like, yeah, Dice, I want to go to my own studio. He's like, listen, you can trust me. I'll bring this. First he said, you can trust me. I'll knock this out tonight, but I got to do it at my own studio. And I was like, Schooly, I prepared for you to come. I'm very excited for you to be here. You're one of my childhood heroes. You know, this is an experience for me that you don't even understand how excited I am. And he looked at me. He was like, damn, like, why the fuck did you say that? You know what I'm saying? Like, and he was like, all right. He's like, yo, let your engineer come with me, and I'll promise I'll send him back safely. And I was like, Schooly, I said, he's a grown man. I can't tell him to leave with you and go to some studio. I was like, he's his own man. Like, what are you talking about? I said, Schooly, just knock this out. I said, we got freeways on it. I said, Bubonic already did his part. We got EST. He said, EST is on it. I said, EST is on it. He says, okay, well, I'm doing it. So he picks up a paper. He goes in the booth. He's reading the paper all while he's rapping. Probably needs to go to the microwave for a little bit. He's reading the paper and he spit it. One take, right? And the shit was, you heard it, right?
Yeah.
That was one take. You know what I'm saying? I came with cane in my pocket. Your cane is in my pocket. Some don't dig it. Others try to knock it. I came from Westfield where them young brothers kill, but you gotta understand how them young niggas feel. Yeah, I mean, so he comes out of the booth with the paper. He puts the paper down, one take. We're like, oh, he killed it, right? He leaves. 45 minutes after he leaves, the engineer comes out to where I'm at. I'm outside playing like, I don't know, Madden or some shit in the lobby. And that's how you know it was a long time ago, is I don't play video games. So, and there was a person at the studio I used to call a retard. He used to always leave his video game system hooked up. And actually I shouldn't even call him that, because that's a diss to people who are mentally ill. Because, you know,
well, he was just slow,
dumb.
Right?
Yeah, huh?
He was just slow, maybe.
He was fast. He was so fast. Oh. He was brilliant, but he was that dumb. It just baffled me. It was like an oxymoron. Somebody so intelligent, but so dumb. You know what I mean? But anyway, my engineer comes out. He says, Dice, you won't believe this. I said, what? He says, look at the paper that Schooly was rapping off of. I said, what? What's wrong with it? He said, look at it. I picked it up. It was blank.
Oh my God.
It was blank. But he was in the booth reading it like this. He was like this. Some don't dig it. So you see somebody reading some of a paper like that, and then when they put it down, it's blank.
Oh my God. Maybe it was crazy. Like some sort of special ink, so you couldn't steal the rhymes after.
Maybe.
Only he could read sense. It. Yeah.
That would make sense.
So that whole track is full of you got like 6 people on it. What is it like in Philly with so many great MCs? You got Eve, Meek Mill. I know Philly's a big place, and it's one of the oldest cities in America, so it's a populated place. There's a lot of rappers. Jedi Mind Tricks.
Yeah.
So do you brush shoulders with all these guys? Like, yeah.
I mean, in Philadelphia, everybody knows me. You know, I haven't worked with everybody, but you know. I've hung out with every rapper in Philadelphia, from Beanie Siegel to Petey Crack to Freeway to Chris and Neef to Meek Mills to Cassidy, DJ Jazzy Jeff to the Fresh Prince. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Sure, yeah.
you know, everybody knows me. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
like, I'm cool with all the rappers basically. I mean, there's some rappers I probably haven't hung out with, like maybe like an AR Ab. I never really had a chance to build with him, but I love his music. You know what I'm saying? And I wish him to come home very safely from prison. You know, even Oskino, you know what I'm saying? I've hung out and had dinner with Oskino and broke bread, you know what I'm saying? At a restaurant, you know, just chopping it up, just, you know, on some, not even on some music stuff, but just, yo, what's up? You know what I mean? Like, my childhood friend was Mike Knox, you know, me and Mike Knox, who's part of G Unit. I mean, we go back to when we were playing with toys. You know what I mean?
Damn.
Like trading in Nintendo cartridges and stuff like that. You know, Black Thought and Beanie Siegel. I mean, we used to walk to school together. You know what I'm saying? They're from the same neighborhood.
That is crazy. Like, even when you look at New York rap, like I think it's true that Busta, I think it was Hove and Biggie went to the same high school, for example.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But it makes sense in a way, right? Because like from the same city, you know, the same age, same era, and all that. This into the same stuff. They're rapping. They're gonna end up together, right? It kind of happens like that. But
right.
So the Money Makin Jam Boys, is that just like a loose collective, or is that just, you know what I mean? Like, you guys always shout it out, but does that just refer to like the group, you know, of rappers that you see, like all the guys on the Roots albums that come on and do their little verses?
No, not everybody was on the Roots albums in the Money Makin Jam Boys.
So it's exclusive club.
Yeah, the Jam Boys is a very, very, very exclusive club. And, you know, there's a lot of good rappers who've been on the Roots albums, but they can never be Jam Boys. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. I get it now.
You know, but you see somebody like a Petey Crack. He's a Jam Boy. You know
okay. Petey.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Petey is a Jam Boy. And then you got people like Sugar Tongue Slim. He's a Jam Boy. You know, Porno MC is a Jam Boy. Truck North is a Jam Boy. And, of course, Black Thought is a Jam Boy. But that's kind of where the buck stops. You know what I'm saying?
True. I think I lost your video there for a sec.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
There you go.
Yeah, that's kind of where the buck stops, though. You know what I'm saying? For the Jam Boys.
So I know we don't want to put you on the spot and make you reveal anything you shouldn't, but is there any Roots project? I know there's always rumors, and there hasn't been an album for, a few years now. Are you working on any? I know in your raps you say when people ask, are you working on something? You say you don't really know, but you always say, yeah.
Oh yeah, 1995. You working on something? Yeah, I always say no. Well, you know what? I believe it. I believe they are working. I know Tariq's writing. I know Quest is producing a bunch of stuff. You know, I'm working on some stuff, and you know, I think we're just going to get together and kind of compare notes and say, hey, you know, what you got. But I think that there's some real excitement for a Roots album, and especially what's going on. I'm sorry, I'm sitting here on the chopping board chopping.
Yeah, we'll edit out the chops. It's all good. We'll just EQ that bottom out a little bit.
Put a little 808 on it.
Yeah, we'll roll it out. So what about your personal music tastes? Like, what kind of stuff did you listen to growing up, and then compared to nowadays, how has your musical taste changed at all?
You know, my musical taste really hasn't changed. Since I've been a kid, I've always had an eclectic choices in music. My dad was in a band, basically. So I had tons of music at my at my hand, at my arm's reach. My mom was huge into music. She had an extensive record collection. So you know, there's a lot of musical influences that I grew up on, like listening not just to hip hop, but listening to like Jimi Hendrix, a lot of 60s, 70s music, a lot of oh no. Oh, it's so crazy. You can't really position anywhere. A lot of 80s music, a lot of 70s funk. Yeah, I had a really eclectic experience in the home with music, and my parents loved a lot of different aspects of music, and I still do that today. Like, you know, the stuff I listen to is not necessarily all hip hop, but it's not, you know, necessarily half hip hop, half country music.
What about do you have a preference for older or newer artists? Like do you check out a lot of new stuff, or do you just stick with what you know kind of thing?
Yeah, I listen to everything. So I listen to all the new stuff. Like I like NBA Youngboy. You know, I like Rollo. I like some of the early Gucci stuff when he came home. I love all the earlier Gucci stuff, you know, when he was really crazy.
Yeah.
You know, but who didn't? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, I was a big
Canadian artist. Any Toronto? I know Toronto's really a hub now ever since Drake kind of blew up and everything. Any Toronto?
Well, I think you gotta like Drake, or you can't. You know, your Earth pass gets revoked. I think they send you to another planet. You admit that you don't like Drake publicly. You gotta go.
Yeah,
you can't live on Earth anymore. You gotta go. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I mean, but I like Drake. You know, I think he's a really brilliant, complex artist. You know what I mean? And he actually reminds me of some of the stuff that I do. You know what I mean? It's just like the risk that he takes. He's very risky. You know what I'm saying? With doing different stuff and reaching for, you know, the genre mixing and the Jamaican dance hall stuff that he does, and the love balance. I mean, the shit is brilliant. You know what I mean? So
yeah, a lot of Toronto stuff, if you dig into some of the newer guys too, it's very eclectic culturally, because there's such a mix of immigrants in Toronto and that.
Right.
So many different influences. Yeah.
I'm definitely hip to that.
So any political, I know we're doing this interview in a tumultuous political time. Any statements or things you want to speak on? And we don't want to talk too much on the news that just happened, because we don't know all the details, but we've seen some of the videos of the Capitol Hill building, infiltration, and all these Trumpists, these crazy guys doing.
Yeah, you know, I mean, my whole vibe is, if they were black, I mean, they would have got shot dead as soon as this thing would have started. And the fact that these guys can take a racist agenda and have that kind of power and effect and reach is just baffling. And, you know, to me, I think America should be over. You know, I think we should get rid of America and we should start again.
Hey, why don't you join us? Why don't we make one country? You could just be Canada.
Hey, I like that. That's not a bad idea. You know what I'm saying? It's not a bad idea. But you know, my whole vibe is, you know, if they were black, those guys, they wouldn't have made it as far as they did. And it's really despicable of America's love infatuation with white privilege. And I'm going to DC soon too. And I'm going with my own crew. And we're gonna do our own thing. You know what I'm saying? So
true. Yeah, it's baffling on many levels, of course. And Trump even, you know, making statement videos saying, you know, be peaceful, but yet let me just restate the whole lie why you guys are going there. It doesn't make sense, right? They keep going with the selection fraud stuff, and
yeah, I mean, it's got to be planned. You know what I mean? The powers that be, I mean, they know what they're doing. They're not idiots. I'm sorry, I'm just wrestling with arugula and cilantro in here, all in your ear.
It's all good. It makes for a unique episode.
Oh, okay, good. You know, at my house, I do all the cooking. You know what I'm saying?
Well, all I can say is it's unfortunate somebody lost their life there, and I'm not American, so I'll just kind of stay here, hunkered down for now. But
probably smart.
It is unfortunate, and we hope for all the best and a peaceful transition and all that. Now that, you know, the Democrats got the Senate now, so we'll see what Joe Biden has in store for the next couple of years, at least.
Yeah, we'll see. You know, to me, I'd argue that Biden's. Well, never mind. I can't say stuff like that. And it's like right now, I'm a board chair of a nonprofit, so I really can't even express my true thoughts sometimes. Like if I say something that's from like my old rapper world, then it gets frowned upon. So I have to be careful about what I say. Yeah,
that's true. That's true. So what else? Let's see. What else we got here? I wanted to ask you a couple more quick things. Lyrics wise, so we talked about that 95 song, 1995 earlier. What was so special about 1995 for you? How old are you in 95?
In 95, I'm not sure. I have to do some math, but
why was it so good? Why was it such a good year for hip hop?
It was a great year. It was a great year, but it was the year, like, you know, the Roots were started working on Illadelph, Half-Life. You know, so it was a lot going on. So it was a great time. Actually, I think Illadelph, Half-Life might have came out in 95, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I was only 7 back then, so it was good. It was chill for me too. But
Yeah, it was a great time. Great time to be alive.
now in your lyrics, I gotta say, even from on a personal standpoint, as a fan, specifically your lyrics and the Roots music altogether, uh, did kind of like to me it presents this, hey, there's a tough world out there, and this is the shit we go through, but you got to find a way to make it through and kind of be positive and all that. Do you try to put that through in your music? Because that's kind of what I took from it. I know other people take that from it as well. Like you're going through tough things, or you make a lot of mistakes in life, or you do the wrong thing. You know, there was a time where I spent a weekend in jail. I had a aggravated assault charge, all this stuff. My life wasn't going in the right exact direction, drug use and all that. And then like literally it was at the time of listening to like the Undone record, for example, coming out of all that. And there's so much like positive music and lyrics on that album, for example. Is that a conscious thing? Obviously it must be.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is conscious, and we definitely were aware of what we were doing, but we were just kind of just speaking about how we felt in those certain junctions of time. You know what I mean? Whatever the Roots album were, it was really like conversations we would have with each other, and then just start kind of creating while we were having those conversations. And a lot of times it was really based off of the Roots being on tour, because we would be in the studio a lot, and they would be on tour. We wouldn't see them for a long time. So when they would finally come home, we would have these deep ass conversations in the studio, and those conversations would just kind of spark how we were feeling. And a lot of those things were really just trying to be real and not give people like this narrative that was so false and fake that other rappers just do. And what the Roots, I think they were mainly focused on not doing what other people do, like the song "Don't Do What They Do." I mean, I think that's kind of like where the rubber hits the road, and I mean that's how they live. You know what I mean? So a lot of those songs really came out of conversations that we were having, and they were definitely specific. Like, okay, we know that the economy is like this. We know that people are probably going through this. Yeah. When we were young, we did this. What are we going through now? And even just real thoughts. You know what I'm saying? Like, as adults and growing up being signed to a contract most of your life and having to perform a certain particular thing and having all white fans and being this pro-black group and the irony of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, it was deep, man.
That is interesting. Yeah, I never even really thought about that, about your fan base. It's got to be a lot of white dudes.
Yeah, I mean, a majority of white people. I mean, if we had to depend on black people to live, I mean, the Roots would have never made it. You know what I'm saying? But black people like the Roots now because they're successful. But earlier on, people thought we were doing, they didn't get it. They really didn't understand what was going on. The majority of the Roots fans are multicultural. But yeah. I mean, the average hip hop fan or average hip hop listener, and the time that we were doing something that was so different that it really only spoke to audiences that were, bohemian, throwback to what the jazz stuff was, or a throwback to what Tribe Called Quest and De La Soul was doing. Is the audience that really kind of understood what we were doing. But then, I look back at it, and I think it's really interesting because of you look back, and I think it's really interesting because most rap fans, when they talk about lyrics and everything, most rappers only talk about, getting girls, spending money, and doing stuff like that. And yeah, for the most part, the Roots talked about so many different aspects of life and that weren't really based inside a rap narrative. That were kind of based in real life narratives, like talking about depression, talking about the economy, talking about drugs, but not from a drug kingpin perspective, but from a person who got locked up selling a $150 bag of weed to undercover cop when he was just trying to get pamper money, and to actually focus on the real stories and real people that are affected by, the world. You know what I mean? And I think the Roots are really the one thing I respect about, well, not the one thing, but one of the many things that I respect about the Roots is their perspective of how they look at the world. and it's not something that they just do practice on record. It's not something that's a recording theory, but it's something that's practiced in life. And they're unique even to that. So. Yeah.
You made some comments on thoughts, that 10-minute freestyle or whatever it was. They keep sharing it. I think was it a year ago that came out, or 3 years, whatever it was. People are sharing it now again. And then you made a comment on it because someone said it was written. You said, I don't think it matters.
Yeah, I don't think it matters.
It doesn't matter, right? I mean, what's the point? Like, are we really impressed anymore these days that someone can rap off the top of their head? Like, a lot of rappers do that anyway in the booth. No, like.
I mean, I don't really believe that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a great freestyler. Like, I'm a master freestyler. And I write everything. Like, I used to didn't write before I didn't know people actually wrote songs down. But for the most part, it's like, why do a freestyle that's really off the top of your head that it could go either way? You can have a good day or a bad day. It's like I look back at some of the freestyles I did, and I'm like, what the hell was I talking about? Like, I'm all high, not making any sense. Like, the first 8 bars might be killer. The last 72 bars might be whack. You know what I'm saying? So why risk it? You know what I'm saying? And most rappers are reading off of their phones now. You know what I'm saying? While they're doing the little freestyles and stuff like that, which is really interesting. But I mean, the shit was 10 minutes long. I'm sure some of it was freestyle. You know what I mean? So
true, here and there, whatever.
But at the end of the day, I don't care. The shit was killer. It's the best freestyle of all time. And freestyle rhyme doesn't necessarily mean off of the top. KRS-One taught us that a long time ago.
Yeah. It's like a free form, essentially, bar after bar over a beat.
Right.
Whatever they say. Jay-Z, didn't Jay say that he never wrote a rap?
That's bullshit. You know what I mean?
I don't believe that either.
I mean, hell, with the complexity of some of the
his
stuff
shit,
that he puts together.
I guess I never really fully believed that either,
No, that's bullshit. I mean, the complexity of the stuff that he puts together is, I mean, if he is freestyling it, then his brain must be a computer. You know what I'm saying? and I just don't believe it. And I know Jay-Z's a very, very smart man, a smart businessman. He's what all of us rappers aspire to be in hip hop business world. It's like, Jay-Z and Puff Daddy and, Russell Simmons, and Rick Ross and, Birdman and Jay Prince, all those people, Master P, Tony Draper, all those hip hop businessmen. Jay-Z is like the tippy top, you know what I'm saying? But they all have our hearts and they all have our respect and admiration. The gentleman that I just named.
Did Jay ever do anything with the Roots? Is there any?
Yeah, I mean, Jay stole a lot of Roots ideas. I'm just no. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, listen. D, thank you for everything. I do have to jump. My girlfriend's ready to have dinner.
No worries, man. I wanted to close out and just say thanks again. And anything that the people can expect from you coming up next, another comedy album, or are you just going to chill for a bit?
Yeah, I mean, there's more to. You never know with me, man. I've written 7 musicals in the last 7 years. I'm board chair, Freedom Theater CEO, Freedom Theater Network. There's more to come, of course. Not really ready to divulge much, but we do have some Black history education things coming up that people should definitely keep an eye out for. Produced by Freedom Theater, Philadelphia, and I'm excited about it.
Awesome, man. Dice, thanks again so much, man, and enjoy your dinner and all the best, bro.
Thank you, Dick. Be safe, man.
Take care.
Peace.